So there was a peaceful protest that went on today, and I don't even have to qualify that by saying mostly peaceful, fiery, but mostly peaceful. Yeah, it literally went off without a hitch and it's supposed to continue throughout the entire weekend. It's called the Million MAGA March. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, and I wouldn't blame you because it's only gone around in small circles and hasn't been widely purported to actually being taken place, but yeah, thousands and thousands of people descended upon Washington D.C. for the weekend here, and they're legitimately out there peacefully protesting. Not a lot of violence or anything coming in from their side, but we'll get into it because, of course, there's those fucking screeching assholes on the other side that just can't tear themselves away from causing a fucking stink when people are just out there trying to express their First Amendment right. And yeah, as you probably can already surmise in your head what people are thinking about this event. Oh, it's super spreaders. Nobody's wearing masks. Shut up. But we'll just take a look because it's a fucking great thing to see. Like, you can just see here in the picture. It's a full video, but I'll spare you the video because mostly it's just, yeah, panning the crowd and, yeah, showing a bunch of people who are passionate about their beliefs. So what's wrong about that? Because they are literally thousands of people. In one estimate, there's over 200,000 people there today, and nobody's causing any ruckus, and they're there for a peaceful reason. So theoretically, you shouldn't have any problems, right? Like, if all of those Black Lives Matter protests earlier in the summer would have adhered to the same kind of framework, then people might have actually, stayed on with the Black Lives Matter rhetoric. But, yeah, it only happens on one side. But enough preamble, let's get into this. Thousands of President Donald Trump's supporters took to the streets of downtown Washington, D.C. in the Million MAGA March Saturday, and the Daily Caller has captured every must-see moment. The march is a show of support for President Trump despite his slim chances. He's got a chance at least, and not like a Dumb and Dumber. Oh, you're saying there's a chance. No, there's a legal precedent for this, so let's not get too down on it, even though this is from the Daily Caller, which was founded and started by Tucker Carlson and has been, well, rather co-opted by much of the Fox News hive mind. But hey, they did the best reporting on this one that I could see so far. In the White House after Inauguration Day, with former Vice President Joe Biden holding strong leads. Again, more weasel words, and that's why I'm saying it was taken over by the Fox News hive mind, because, like, I've covered extensively in the past week here, just a bunch of weasel words in these so-called articles where, I would hardly qualify a state having a strong lead with, 10,000 votes? Less than 10,000 votes in some cases, and most of them are going through recounts right now, so whatever, guys. Trump also made a surprise drive-by visit to the demonstration Saturday morning before heading to Trump National Golf Course in Virginia, and we actually got that right here. Got a picture off to the side, but we also got video of it, which we'll get to afterwards here. We'll just cover the highlights. President Donald Trump made a surprise drive-by visit. He kind of tipped it off on Twitter here yesterday, saying, "Oh, I'm so glad to see this is going to be happening. Maybe I'll drop by for a second." And yeah, I can understand. Okay, you can already hear the leftists out there screeching, "Oh, see, he didn't even bother to stop by and say hi. All he did was wave from his motorcade." Yeah, it's a big open area and there's a lot of fucking nut jobs out there. So if he's going to stay, I think his SUV's called the Beast. I think it is. But it's completely bulletproof and rather safe. Now, everybody looked just jubilant to the fact that he drove by. And yeah, I give him big props for, acknowledging the fact that, yeah, thousands and thousands of his supporters took the time to come down to Washington, D.C. So go ahead and dispel that little criticism as best as you can with these fucking nut jobs. The march is a show of support, like it said there. The event remained peaceful throughout Saturday and during the president's drive-by visit, though groups like the Proud Boys, which have engaged in violence, only when they were the targets of violence first. Remember that. Yes, they have engaged in violence with Antifa. Antifa started those instances of violence. Like it said here, yeah, the Proud Boys often clashed with violent groups like Antifa and violent Black Lives Matter protest rioters in cities across the country this summer. It is unclear whether Antifa is present at the DC march, though shouting between Trump supporters and counter-protesters has not been uncommon. Well, guess what? We get to go to the wonderful bastion of objectivity and unbiased news that is Twitter. And as you can see, yeah, this is BLM Antifa thugs are running around and beating people in the streets in D.C. I'll just let the video play on this one. Yep, look at exactly. They're just carrying their flags, and what happens? Yeah, a bunch of fucking pussies who just wear your black blocks and nobody can, tell who the fuck you are. And yeah, these guys are just walking away. Yep, they're right next to where the big gathering was, anyways. And yep, do they retaliate? No. Do they keep getting chased? Yes. And yeah, as you can see, more fighting in the streets from more cowards, and it's just disgusting to see. Like, why? What's the point? Why do you have to go down there and agitate? I don't get it. Just because all of your guys' protests always devolve into violence doesn't mean that people can't go out and legitimately peacefully protest and not have to fear for their fucking lives. Meanwhile, that's the side calling for unity all the time, right? Yeah, exactly. Unity when we get what we want, right? Is it just short form for that? And like, the only reason you would have probably heard about this march is if you're involved with any sort of walk away campaign, or if you were looking at, as you can see here, yeah, the Million MAGA March hashtag, which was only been around for a little while. But of course, it got taken over by a bunch of leftists. And you know what? I would like to report on that, and it's like, haha, they did something clever with it, but I don't know. Perhaps I'm retarded. I just don't get this. They just started posting pancakes. I don't get it. Like, they aren't funny. It's like that old saying that the left can't meme, and then they just post pancakes. Unless I'm, like I said, absolutely oblivious to what the significance of this is, but it's just another one of those instances where Twitter likes to promote everything that elicits some sort of a response, and anger is one of those emotions that greatly increases your reaction to it. So I suppose that's the only reason why they're doing it, because their platform is dying anyways, because you got alternatives now. Like, okay, those of you who haven't been following since the beginning, I know that's a vast majority of you, and I thank you for hopping on whenever you did, for sure. I started off first and foremost over on Parler. I wanted to make my bones over there, and I wanted to avoid Twitter for as long as I could, but in order to get your voice out there was really no alternative, because Parler, while it had a rather energetic little base to begin with, I just couldn't get fuck all for traction over there, so hopped over to Twitter and, started posting there, and things were doing all right. And, ever since the election, probably about a week before the election, everything started to kind of quiet down, and there wasn't a lot going on. And now everybody's made the hop over to Parler, and you can just see the difference. Like, okay, personally, my posts do a fuck of a lot better over on Parler. No, I post nearly identically the exact same descriptions on everything, and comment on the exact same type of posts I would over on Twitter, and it doesn't nearly get the same type of play. I don't want to ascribe anything nefarious to Twitter, but I can clearly see something's going on. And by looking at the Million MAGA March specific Parler page, you can really tell what's fucking going on, because when you just go back here, you get all of your fucking goofy little pancake memes. The left is so funny. Not even a little bit. And then you take a look here. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, there's no hope. But meanwhile, you have fucking ridiculous amounts of pictures just showing how many thousands of people showed up. Now, take this with a grain of salt. It is from InfoWars, saying that, over 200,000 people at the Million MAGA March. More coming as protests continue over the weekend, which, they're supposed to continue into the night and into tomorrow. But if Antifa decides they're going to come in there and cause a little bit of violence, they'll immediately shut it all down, call it a fucking super spreader event. I guarantee it. And then, I already have this muted, so we can take a look at just panning the crowd from that first picture there. Yeah, as you can see, this is not a small gathering. And does it look like there's any fires happening? Does it look like there's any sort of violence occurring? I understand that this is a wide shot, to be sure, but there's just a bunch of people excited. All they are is just listening to people talk and expressing their dangerous points of view. And then, like I said to begin with, we got President Trump driving by in his motorcade, and this was before the official march started. And okay, he doesn't get by, but hey, he looks happy. He's fucking people are just chasing them. They got their MAGA flags out. It's, you know what? It's nice to see. It's really uplifting to the fact that sometimes it just feels like I'm over here just trumpeting opinions that just aren't resonating with people. But I think they are, for the most part. I think that there is a significant chance. I don't know what that percentage is, but I think it's a non-single digit percentage chance that President Trump gets a second term after we realize that there is a bunch of voter fraud and voter irregularities going on, because only the media can continue to parrot that so much. And Twitter, man, is it's just a toxic place. It's one of those things where you can tangibly see that all of the negative aspects of it get constantly recycled into your feed in order to keep you in the spiral of negativity. And I just don't give a shit. I don't have enough effort for that. It's like when somebody comes in and they want to comment some low IQ comment, it's like, I don't know how to respond to this. And eventually it just fucking disappears. So, and that's what you see here with Antifa-BLM, whatever, the rioters, the fucking, if I may be so bold, the rabble-rousers out there. That's all they do. They just come in and they interject violence because they know that their arguments can't stand up to the fact that somebody's just got a fucking MAGA hat on and they waving a Trump flag, just, yay, I love America. Boo, I hate America. That's why these political movements that are all based on negatives don't really stand for anything. Boo, we hate Trump. Okay, potentially Trump's gone. What are you going to do after that? We hate Trump. Okay, what are your policies? Not Trump's. Okay, can you outline something specifically? Yeah, whatever he didn't do. Okay, but he did a lot of good. You see where the cycle continues to go? It doesn't get you anywhere. It's like, okay, I've done a bunch might be a stretch. I've done a few videos on trying to rationalize how I could vote for Joe Biden without using President Trump as the negative in order to bounce off the ideas, and it comes up very tough. You can see the couple of examples that they have, like, okay, the Biden-Harris ticket is very, very strong on gun control, if that is something that concerns you because you're too stupid to look up statistics and parse out the fact that gun violence statistics also include suicides. That is fine. If you really, really just can't take care of your own firearms and you're uneducated on the subject, that is totally up to you, by all means. But stop telling other people what they can't do. And if you're just out there trying to make the world a better place with, getting rid of hate speech or very, very offensive terminology as you might deem it, yeah, they are very much on the side of censorship and making sure that that hurtful language gets abolished, unless of course it comes from their supporters ridiculing and mocking and calling for violence and different blacklists to be created for Trump supporters. But that's neither here nor there. But you see, it might be a blind spot on my behalf, but there are some policies that you can glob on if you are a dyed-in-the-wall progressive, because at this point I don't see the Biden platform as being much for Democrats as it is for anti-Trumpers and progressives. But that might be the future, and that might be a glimpse into what the rest of my content for the next 4 years might look like, but I hope not. Hopefully we can find some common ground however this shakes out. I don't see that happening because I don't see a nice peaceful transfer of power regardless of how this shakes out. But hey, I know I've been firm on saying once we figure out who legally won the vote, that's the president, and that's all we can do about it. So let's get these lawsuits done. Let's get these recounts and audits and recanvasses done in a legitimate way, not like the way that fucking Georgia's doing it right now, like I mentioned yesterday, where they have pods of 10 counters for ballots and there's only one poll observer per 10. If that's true, oh my God, what the fuck's the point? If you say that something's going to be a re-audit and a recanvass, all you're doing is just a straight retotal. So anyways, I just wanted to give you guys a nice little recap of what went down today in Washington. For all intents and purposes, it started off being very peaceful. We'll see what it looks like when the sun goes down and all of the thugs come out, and not like that kind of thugs. I'm talking like those white people out there screaming for social justice and racial equality, meanwhile destroying businesses that still had to be boarded up, like you've seen in the Andy No Twitter video there. Anyways, guys, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.